Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of WhyPhi. Today's video, I want to talk about what I think this is and show you guys what I've deciphered so far with the binary information in the center. Also, I'm going to share a link to a Discord that I've created for anybody who's interested in helping solve these codes. I called it Circle Ciphers. And I have an interesting question to answer, or at least from my perspective, from what I think the answer is. And that is, why are crop circles only made at nighttime? Or, majority of them. And why is there this culture that seems to want to only make crop circles at nighttime? I mean, before in the past, I can understand that you didn't want to get caught for destroying farmer's crop. But nowadays, with crop circle fakers, the pros, they actually consult with the farmer and pay them to get paid off. Like, they pay the farmer for the destruction of the crop, basically, for their damages. And then the farmer agrees to allow them to use the field. That's how modern crop circles are made. And so there's no point to do them at nighttime because there's no legality involved there. It's just part of the culture at that point. But there may be a scientific reason for it, and that's what I want to discuss also. So, hypothetically speaking here, I personally believe there's a lot of electromagnetic activity going on. If these crop circles are not man-made, they're from somewhere else, or formed by some other means, they've detected electromagnetic signatures after a crop circle has come down. They've studied this. There's radiation signatures, etc., etc. And so that leads me to believe that there's electromagnetic activity involved, especially with the 192 crop circle when they seen green flashing lights in the field. And also the one video, I don't know if you've seen the video, but there's a light glowing orb that creates a specific crop circle in the field. Well, in that video, you can actually see little flashes of lightning occur in the field as just before the crop falls. You have to look very carefully, but it does occur. And so again, we have this flashing electric phenomenon. So the question is, why do crop circles only form at nighttime, or for the majority of them? I mean, if we want to get into it hypothetically speaking, we'd have to go into great depths into the theory as to how they're created, but the point is that the only reason they can come down at nighttime is so that the signal that they're using to create these is not interfered by the sun. It's the only reason I can think of if this is an extraterrestrial phenomenon, something that's from outside of Earth. And if somebody was communicating from another place and they were sending a signal like that, you wouldn't want it to be interfered by the sun, so you could only send it on the dark side from that direction even, per se, which would also give reason for as to why they're only occurring at certain times of the year. But we can get into that in another video. I just wanted to kind of quickly touch base on that question as to why crop circles are only formed at nighttime, other than it being illegal and wanting to not be caught by the police. If this was something extraterrestrial, it's because they don't want to be interfered by the sun's electromagnetic activity when they're forming their crop circle. Just like radio waves. Radio waves propagate better at nighttime than they do during the day, because of less electromagnetic interference from the sun would be my guess. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what I've deciphered from the center of this circle after layering them. This is kind of what I've found out. So here in the middle we had this binary information from the previous circle, and then once you combine it with this other crop circle that had binary information in the same positions, you can then use the combination of that binary information to come up with your characters. Okay, so I've included here on the screen the binary information that I've decoded from those inner two rings and from what it is deciphered into. It's the only thing that can be deciphered out of all the different combinations of binary information that I put together. I've tried all different kinds of combinations. Most of it just comes up with like characters that are not known. So they're just unknown characters, can't be rendered. Basically, they're beyond the ASCII character set. But the ones that do render into character sets, this is what it actually deciphers into. And so if you look here, you can see that it says O2 or O squared at 136 lbs and question mark. I don't know if there's missing information there where the question mark is, but we only get 4 characters of binary information. And so the way I translate this is that perhaps they're talking about oxygen being the O2, oxygen, at 136 pounds, lbs being pounds, or maybe they're talking about psi, so they're saying oxygen at 136 psi, or pounds per square inch, which is a pressure, and this would oxygen O2 being air pressure. And so I'm not too sure if they're referring to perhaps using air pressure at 136 psi injected into this thing. Because what I think it is a molecular separator of some kind. So this machine, after we go into a little more details, I think it's a machine, and it is actually taking in some kind of fluid that is composed of two molecules. Perhaps it's water, with its hydrogen and oxygen would be my guess. I'm just guessing at this point, but it's speculating. But it takes in a two-component molecular liquid, and it is separating it into two parts. And those parts are in a ratio of 6:13. It is shown here where we have 6 triangles on this petal and 13 circles on this petal, and they're separated. And when you look at this ring here, it's showing nothing but a combination of circles and triangles. And so my guess is that this thing is spinning at a certain RPM with a liquid inside, and with perhaps a combination of oxygen being injected at 136 psi, causes this molecular substance to separate into its separate components at a ratio of 6:13. And to do some further speculation, I know this is a lot of speculating, but perhaps the molecule of water isn't exactly what we think it is. And perhaps the molecule of water looks more like this. And here we have 6 of the molecules that we know of going around the outside here, being held together by a single hydrogen atom in the middle, which is that weak force, the weak force bond. And when we apply an electric field to this liquid, it separates into its hydrogen and oxygen components. And we think that it is H2O because after doing this experiment called electrolysis on water, we get this volume of gases that seems to be at almost a 2-to-1 ratio, but maybe it is actually a 6:13 ratio, which is almost a 2-to-1 ratio, except that we have this extra hydrogen component here holding these 6 together. And this looks more like a snowflake to me than anything, but perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe you guys know of a different molecule out there that looks like this one, or has a 6:13 ratio that would better suit this liquid than water. I'd be definitely interested to hear, so you can leave a comment in the comment section or message me. Also, what's interesting to note is that by injecting O2, this actually would be a very efficient hydrogen fuel cell, because the point of a hydrogen fuel cell is to have hydrogen and oxygen as separate gases, and then when you pass them by a membrane, it causes the hydrogen to permeate through the membrane, and this creates an electric current. And that's how you get a hydrogen fuel cell, is you use hydrogen and oxygen, and then it produces electricity. So perhaps this device is showing us an efficient way to use liquid water to separate it into its separate components in an efficient manner. You know, maybe, I'm just guessing here, hypothetically speaking. Maybe you guys can come up with some other better idea. And so that's everything I have to present today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Look for the links in the description below for the Discord, and you guys can join that Discord and check out all the files I have available for anybody else who is interested in trying to solve the rest of these cryptic binary messages that are here. And look forward to the next video where I'll discuss some other crop circles that I think are pretty amazing. And I have no idea how somebody would have made them overnight. But we'll take a look at them, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.